Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Hawkeye Firefly 8SE. Now this is a multi-purpose action camera, however this video is just really going to be about how it performs on a Minqaud, and I'm going to be comparing it to the current favourite, which is the GoPro Hero Session 5. And the reason I'm checking out a new camera is that they have discontinued the Hero 5, and at the moment they're fairly cheap. You can pick one up here for about £150 refurbished, but I do think those prices will start to go up as we start crashing more, and you know, these break pretty easily, so I thought it was time to check out what else is on offer. And at the making of this video, the Firefly 8SE costs around about £106, so you know, it's not a cheap camera by any means, but it's cheaper than this guy. It's also a little bit lighter as well, so this weighs I think 71 grams and this one's 73 grams, so with its battery. And of course the form factor is very similar to the old Hero. So the Hero 4, it was in this box style, and speaking of the box, it comes in this box here, and it says it's waterproof, but I was just looking at the doors on it here and there's no waterproofing there, so I think when they say it's waterproof it's because it comes with this waterproof housing, and as you can see, very similar to the Hero 4 housing. We've got these buttons on here and we have got the mounting here underneath as well. But you know, I'm not going to be using this whatsoever. It's just to show you what it comes with. The battery is removable, so it is a Li-ion battery and it's 1200 milliamp. And let me just put that back in there. It's got a tripod mount. It's something that's always been missing from GoPros. It was on the Xiaomi camera as well, and I really like that. Then on the side we have got a USB connector. It's the bigger USB connector for charging, and we also have got a HD output as well. It's got a built-in microphone and it's got a 170-degree field of view. It apparently does super view. We've got the on button here, so you have to hold it a little bit, and it's actually a touch screen. Now the touchscreen isn't that great, to be honest, but you know, it does the job just about. So to start recording, it's this button on the top there. This is where your micro SD card goes in. I'm using a Class 10 U3, 32 gigabytes, and so if I want to go into the settings that I'm interested in, I think it's this one here, and it sometimes takes a couple of goes. So looking at the video resolution here, it does 4K 30 FPS, and if I go into there, yeah, I should be able to change it. So 4K 30, 4K 25, and then we've got 2160p at 30 frames per second, 2.7 and 2.7 Super View at 30, but I don't think there's Super View 2.7 for 60. So coming down here, 2.5 at 60 FPS, but no super view. And then we've got 1440p, then at 1080p at 120 frames per second, 1080p at 60 FPS, 30 FPS, and then we've got super view at 60 FPS. And I'll have to see if that really is super view or just stretched like the Foxeer was. And if we come all the way down here, I think there's a 720p 240 frames per second option. I mean, I'm not going to be using any of that. I use 1080p 60 super view, so you know, that's the one I'm going to be checking out, and I'll also check out what 4K is like as well. But if I go back, is that it? Yeah, you can see it's not too responsive, this screen, at all. So change the video quality here, so you know, super fine, fine, and normal. I've got it on super fine there. You can change the field of view, but you know, it's not always the same. The camera's not picking it up very well. Yeah, it's quite a bright screen, I should say. But yeah, you can go wide, medium, or narrow, and I'm just going to go as wide as I possibly can for this, so that's what we want. It's also got a gyro as well, but I don't think that works in Super View or 4K. It's just 1080p mode. Again, I'm not interested in any of that kind of stuff. So let's take a look what else you get in the package. I'm just gonna turn this off here. I think it has Wi-Fi and things like that. So you get loads of stuff in the box. So we've got a manual, got some straps in there. We have got the USB lead, and we've got some cable ties. And this might interest some of you. It's got a microphone, so you can plug this in. It's a lav mic. Now, I tend to not use these with action cameras because when I'm flying, the 2.4 gigahertz on the radio usually gives a nice hum all the way through it. But you know, if you're after that sort of thing, we've got some, looks like, is that Velcro? Yeah, Velcro. And some mounts, loads of different mounts. That looks like it's like a bike or something, but you know, I'm not going to use that. We've got the mounts down here, and you've got like a camera protector thing. Loads of stuff. Yeah, you know, this really isn't going to be that useful for a mini quad. Speaking of mini quads and how to mount it, I'm going to be using the HLRC, and I've dug out this old Hero 4 mount there, so that's going to go on there like that, and we have a strap that can go underneath, and I'm also going to be able to stick the Session 5 so I can compare the two. So on board with the Firefly, and straight away I can tell you that it is not proper Super View. It's just like the Foxeer box. So they've taken the full 4x3 sensors image and stretched it to 16:9. Now pay attention to these trees. Can you see when I go into a roll that the image distorts slightly? And that's something that Super View does not do on the GoPro, and that's because with GoPro's Super View, the center of the image has a correct aspect ratio, and it's only the edges of the image that are stretched to give that ultra wide field of view. So yeah, it's not Super View, and I wish they wouldn't call it that. And if you wanted to get proper Super View with this, you could use the 4x3 setting that this camera has, and then use one of the plugins that have been created for After Effects. So you'd have to have Adobe After Effects, and you'd have to do processing on the top of that, which of course GoPro does. That being said, I think the image is pretty nice, actually. I think the GoPro does a slightly better job at the dynamic range. So, you know, if we look at the sky, a lot of the time it is washed out, and then if we point just at the sky, then the ground becomes dark. So I think the GoPro does a better job at that, but it's not bad at all. And the microphone isn't bad either. I think it does just clip slightly. But I think the GoPro clips as well. I tend to find that the Session 5 has got its audio muffled compared to the old Hero 4. That was my favourite microphone on the GoPros, but you know, the Session 5 became the standard, so we had to switch. But yeah, I like the microphone on this one, and the camera is also really good at dealing with vibrations. That's a problem that a lot of these lower end action cameras have. You know, you stick them on a mini quad and you get loads of jello and vibrations, and that is not the case with this camera. So I do think it's a viable option. You know, if you really can't afford to invest in a Session 5, or there's just no Session 5s left, then, you know, I think you're going to get decent footage out of this. And yeah, you know, I can't complain too much about it other than the Super View not being Super View. So if I cut to the 4K image, so the 4K is in 30 FPS, but you'll see that it's cropped, and it actually gets the props out of shot with the HLRC model. And you know, I know this video isn't about the Batman, but man, this is such a good copter, and you know, it flies so smoothly. and I didn't have to adjust the PIDs whatsoever with the extra weight. So yeah, I think this is my favourite copter. I was actually flying with the X-Lite though, and it's still taken me some time to get used to the X-Lite. I'm finding that my flying is a little bit jerky compared to the X9D. But yeah, I was flying the copter with the 4K running, and this video isn't going to be in 4K, by the way, so I'll actually link to the 4K version in the below. It's an unlisted video, but you'll be able to see how YouTube reprocesses it into 4K. But you know, I didn't think it was that bad, and you know, yeah, overall it's a pretty decent camera, but for me the Session 5 is still king. And I actually ended up having a crash at the end of this. Something that happened was I accidentally disarmed the copter. I hit the disarmed switch on the X-Lite at the wrong point, and I ended up in some trees, and I had to climb a tree, and I had to use a large twig, and luckily I got it out of the tree. So yeah, there you go. There is my video on the Firefly 8SE. I'll link it in the below if you wish to get one, and as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.